Hi, this is BK. I'm going to be showing you the run through for Horsham Council. So first things first, let's look at our QMS setup, and this is where we actually set up our database. Okay, so first and foremost, we'll just change this to Horsham. Okay, and we hit save. Then we have our queues here, so we've got Q1 as council services. I've selected the categorized option here, which allows us to then have a sub-printing option for this particular service, so we can identify the type of inquiry that is visiting the local authority. We've also set up the interview housing and interview other queues, but again, these could be simply edited by double clicking and just typing in the name. And then hit the save button to apply changes. Now in terms of staff logon, we're using our Windows logon directory because it's easier for us to help us identify who is actually dealing with tickets for certain queues. Now in relation to the drop-in categories, I've listed the footfall categories as provided by yourselves, and I've left the admin categories that are used by Reading. You can utilize these, edit these, or simply delete these should you not wish to use them. So how does our system actually work? So first and foremost, let's fire up our ticket printer. So if a customer is coming in for a quick visit, what we can do is we can select the footfall option, and we can actually record the type of reason as to why the customer has come in. So we'll just say it's been a delivery and we'll submit that. The second option is where we actually issue a ticket. So how does this work? So let me change the summary panel here to council services so we can see what's going on. We now select council services and we choose one of these following options. So we do a housing inquiry, we issue print, and we refresh our page, and we can see number 6 goes to queue number 1, which is council services. I can also then select another service, for example council tax, and the numbers will follow in sequence. So how does this actually appear on our keypad? So if we log on to our keypad now, we can see that the username is test, as this machine is called test. We don't need to put a staff number in. We identify a position number, and then we then call it a position type. So in your instance, it will be a booth. These are the other options. So to change and avoid confusion when we're doing rooms, we can have option A, B, C, D, or E as well. If I just select room, it will call to room 1. So now what we're doing is we're going to select the queue that we want to actually register to. So we'll select council services and hit confirm. And now we can see that we have 2 tickets currently in the queue, one for housing inquiry and one for council tax. So how does this actually come onto the keypad? So if we issue another ticket, we select council services. We then go to leisure, we hit print, and you can see here that it appears straight away underneath. Now, as you explained, you would like to have an option where you can enter some text. So if we select the other services, we could put some notes in and just call this testing other option. How do we actually, correlate this information to our ticket in the ticket waiting table? So we can see here, this ticket number has something called other free text. So from here, I can double click and I can actually see this is the notes associated with this ticket to help sort of further clarify a reason why a customer is coming. So let's call a ticket number forward. So we'll call forward number 6. It would help if I started the call forward software. So let's just fire that up. There we go, ticket number 6. Okay. So now that we've called our ticket number forward, we've got quite a few options here. We can either recall that same number, we can transfer this ticket. So let's stick this ticket into the interview housing queue. We'll say yes. I want to transfer, yes. So now here I will select from housing inquiry what we actually did in terms of the conversations that took place. So we'll go to housing and we'll say it was a drop-in inquiry. Do I want to record another category against this ticket? For now, we don't want to do that, so we'll just simply hit no. And this would confirm that the information is now passed into the database. So now if we then look at ticket number 7 and we call this forward, now let's take this scenario where the customer has come in about council tax, but they also maybe want to discuss a couple of other options. So what we can now do is we can close this ticket off. So do you want to close this ticket? Yes. So what did we actually talk about? So first and foremost, our council tax, we made payment. So a cash payment was taken. So we say yes, and I do want to record another category against this. And what may I want to look at is maybe look at a parking fine. So I might have paid a parking fine by cash, and I'll submit one more final inquiry. What shall we do this time? Let's look at residence permits, and what we're doing is we want to renew a permit and notify you of a change of vehicle. So yes, now I don't want to record any more categories. So here we've dealt with a number of transactions against a single ticket, and it helps us identify, you know, in terms of serving times, okay, one serving time might be higher than another, and we'll be able to show you in the reporting as to why the serving time was higher, maybe because there were multiple transactions associated with the ticket. Now say for example number 9, we double click it and it does say here it's an emergency and the customer needs to be seen straight away. We can just simply highlight this line here and hit call, and that will enable us to call a ticket out of sequence. Now we've dealt with this customer, what do we want to do? We might not want to transfer them into any of our other queues. We don't want to register it as a walk-off, but it may need to be dealt with by another member of staff. So what we can do is we can add further notes to this ticket. We can say, needs the attention of BK, and we can just simply put this ticket on hold. Now all users logging onto the keypad will be able to see that there is a holding queue and this ticket is placed on hold. To further interrogate as to why this ticket is being placed on hold, we'll just simply double click it and it will say it requires the attention of BK. So we can then again measure when this ticket was put on hold and when BK was able to pick it up. Now BK is now ready to pick this number forward, so what do? So we simply come to the call button underneath and we hit call, and it will just simply call the number out. If you need to call the ticket number out of sequence, all you simply need to do is highlight the field for the ticket number that is in the system. Now I've dealt with this, what I can now do is I could transfer this ticket and I can transfer it again into the other interview queue. So yes, we want to transfer, and we talked about other services, and we talked about electoral registration and also pension stamps. So let's hit yes. No, we don't want to submit more categories. Now that customer journey is ended. If I'm sitting at the booth and I would like to know what is going on in the other queues, for example the interview room, to let my customer know if it's going to be busy or not, or how long they may be expected to wait, I can simply hit the queues button here, and I can see straight away that under Q1 these are our listed services, and we currently have one ticket called leisure waiting in the queue. However, we still have a single ticket in interview housing and interview other. So how would this work? Okay, so if we close our keypad now and we fire up the keypad again, what we're now going to do is we're going to be calling ourselves room number 5. And what we're going to do is we're going to go to interview housing, we hit confirm, and we can see that the ticket that we transferred previously is now in this queue. This category option here is now blank because we have not allocate any categories into the interview housing queue. So if you want to provide a reason as to why this ticket may be being transferred, if it's to do with a complaint or a maintenance or something like that, in the same way where we issue a subcategory against the council services, we can actually put that against interview housing. So let's have a go at this and let's see what it looks like. So if we go to our QMS setup, we'll just quickly log on to it. Let's just put in a couple of examples of categories against the queue number 2, which is interview housing. So I'll put in here, it requires a maintenance call, and we associate that to queue number 2. We may also add in a second category, which means a customer complaint has been lodged, so they would like to talk to someone about that, so we change that to queue number 2. We hit save. These saves now will be applied to the system once we restart the application in question. So if we now go back to our council services and we hit confirm, we can now see we've got a ticket number for leisure, so let's just call this forward. And now what we're going to do is we're going to transfer it into interview housing and also provide the interview housing team with a reason as to why that ticket was transferred. So We'll select transfer, we'll select interview housing. There's a mistake I made straight away. Put this ticket on hold. Be sure that we've checked the categorized option here, which basically means that the user has to provide a reason as to why the ticket is being transferred. So if we start that process again, so let's call this number forward. And now we want to transfer into interview housing. It now gives us the option as to why we're transferring. So let's say it was a maintenance call, that's fine. We can then go back to our leisure queue here and we can say it was to do with both of these inquiries. No, we don't want to submit any more categories. Okay, we now go to interview housing and we can now see why a ticket was transferred through to interview housing. Now say for example I'm currently dealing with a customer and I may need to carry out an admin task. It could be anything from photocopying to seeking advice from a manager or just, you know, looking for a file. So what this does, it basically helps us to identify when we're talking to customers the type of, you know, admin tasks that taken place during that conversation. So if I now say I'm going on to admin and I'm going to select a reason as to do some scanning or some senior advice, let's select senior advice, it basically tells my manager on the live manager panel that this ticket is now being dealt with. The advisor is not at the desk because they're carrying out this specific admin task. How is this important for our reporting? It helps us to identify, you know, how long it takes certain admin tasks to be carried out. How can the processes be improved? What is our actual serving time with customers? How much time do we spend on admin? And also, when we're not serving customers, how much time do we spend being idle throughout the day as well, which helps us to better allocate our resources. Now, I finished my admin task. What I want to now do is close my admin task console. So I just simply reselect admin, and I'm now able to reactivate these buttons. Let's say I take the scenario that this inquiry has been dealt with. We'll close this off, and we'll give it a reason, and we'll just say rearrange an appointment, for example, and that's fine. Now say for example you call a number forward and the customer doesn't turn up, so we'll simply call a number. And now we'll just register this ticket as a walk-off. So it basically means, you know, the transaction is now being cancelled and there's no way of re-obtaining that ticket. So to change the queues, what I did was I simply selected this option here, which is what are we currently serving. So if we can now come down here and we can go to interview other, where there is one more final queue here, one more ticket waiting. Now say for example I want to add more options to my closing codes. Well, it's very simple. I go to my QMS setup, I log on to it, and now what I want to do is I want to add in more options here. So we can see these are our categories and this is our queue number. So if we organize this by queue number, we can see these are the main queues that we are currently dealing with right now, and associated against these queues, these are going to be our closing options. Once we're happy with the setup here, we just simply hit save, and that's it, job done. Okay, right. This field here is basically irrelevant, but in the future, should you have any kiosk kind of technology, you'll be able to see here the different options that are available on a kiosk. Queue number is in the order of where the button should appear and whether this option is enabled or not. We have further options in terms of opening and closing times, days of the week for specific queues. Again, these can be discussed later should you wish to have these options. So basically that's the system setup for Horsham. Hopefully we've met the spec as outlined, and the system's operation is very straightforward and user friendly. As with always, we will discuss this on the face-to-face meeting and make necessary changes as and when required. Thank you.